Speaking of Georgia and guns, let's go to Senator Brandon Beach, one of the Gang of Four. They're going into session today. We call him hashtag Beach Balls because he stands up to truth to power. And he's with us now. Senator Beach, great to have you, man.
Well, thanks for having me, John. How you doing?
I've never better in Richmond this week, being at Atlanta next week. Let me ask you something. So a lot of people kind of down in the dumps over what's happened. You guys go into General Assembly. One of the things you guys have talked about is voting reform, like you have a reform package. Can you walk us through what it is, the timing of it, and how real is it?
Well, I will tell you it's our number one priority. We are going to fix this. These at-will absentee ballots have to go. I mean, I have, I'm from New Orleans originally. I've got a dozen friends of mine that called me that said, hey, we went to Georgia Tech, or we went to Georgia. We haven't been in Georgia in 10 years, and they were getting absentee ballots. Not absentee ballot applications, they were getting absentee ballots. It was just unbelievable. And we have to have a system in place where the governor came out yesterday and said he wants photo ID with absentee ballots. I don't want at-will absentee ballots. I just want to stop the absentee ballots. We have 3 weeks of early voting. We have Saturday early voting, Sunday early voting, Election Day. Hopefully by 2022 we'll have this vaccine rolled out. We will not have this COVID situation. People will be able to go to the polls and vote. I also want to eliminate the drop boxes. I think those things are just fraught with problems. And I want to, Fulton County, my county, was the only one that had a mobile voting machine, voting unit that was going around like a Winnebago with voting machines. We don't need that either. State law says that a voting precinct has to be in a government building, a school building, a church. But it does not say anything about having mobile units voting, roaming around the counties.
All right, so you want to fix the voting system so this doesn't happen again. Get rid of the drop boxes. There's no chain of custody.
Right.
Getting rid of the ice cream man, roving voting machines, which is against state law. Getting rid of no excuse absentee voting. Getting rid of mailing out ballots. How real is that? Do you have the votes in both houses to get that done?
Well, we have a Republican majority, so we should be able to get it done. We have a Republican governor. It's our time to do this. Look, the bottom line is that on these last two Senate races and the presidential race, Stacey Abrams, she outworked us for the last 4 years. She outraised us the last 4 years. She outorganized us, outlitigated us, and outsmarted us for the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. And it's time that we make a major focus on election integrity, election reform, and get voter confidence back. Mm-hmm. Voters don't have any confidence right now, and we need to get their confidence back and let them know that when they go to the polls. I also think, look, we spent $107 million on those Dominion machines, and look, I don't want to waste $107 million, but if these machines are not good or they are being able to be hacked in from the internet or whatnot, then we need to look at those too, mm-hmm. and if we have to make a change, we need to make a change. I don't know much about the Texas machines, but I've been told they have a number that matches the ballot. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't tell you who you voted for, mm-hmm. but it does track the ballot in a much more efficient way. So if that's the case, we need to look at that too.
Well, look, I mean, $107 million, nobody wants to waste it, but we also don't want to go through what we just went through again in Georgia, right? And there's a confidence issue, based on error messages and things of that nature. And the guy that was able to hack into them when you guys were live. I mean, that was like bizarre thing happening. But let me ask you this. We're with Senator Brandon Beach, State Senator, Georgia, Cherokee, Republican, hashtag Beach Balls. Senator, let me just ask you this straight out. If you attempt to pass this, you're going to get tremendous pressure from Stacey Abrams. They're going to threaten litigation. They're going to call you racist, right? All that's coming. How are you guys going to deal with that?
Well, listen, I will deal with it. I know how I'm going to vote, and we just have to stand strong to do what's right. And I don't see how she can say voter suppression when we have 3 weeks of early voting, we have military ballots, we have Saturday voting, Sunday voting, and Election Day. I think we have ample opportunity to vote. I think Georgia has more early voting days than anybody in the country. I believe we have something like 19 early voting days. So I just think we've got to do what's right and make sure everybody's playing by the same set of rules. And that's the thing that I kept hearing after the presidential election was that, wait a second, I went in and voted in person. I showed my driver's license, my photo ID. I signed my name. They said it matched the database. And now come to find out, I could have done an absentee ballot with no photo ID, no signature match, and I played by a different set of rules. And I don't think that's right. And so I think that's what most people felt. And I think that's on both sides, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Everybody should want to have fair elections. And so we've got to get to that. And it is going to be a lot of pressure, but we have to do what's right.
Senator Brandon Beach with us. Speaking of doing what's right, we've talked about Georgia in vote reform being the model for other state houses, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, et cetera, that had to deal with this. Is that possible? Is it possible that you guys pass a set of reforms that could be the model going forward, where the Republicans do control the chambers, like in New Hampshire?
You know, I think we can. I think this is a great opportunity for us to come together, both House and Senate, and the governor's office, the executive branch, to do what's right and pass something that is kind of the shining light for everyone else. We did that with transportation funding back in 2015. We were the first ones to really come up with a comprehensive transportation funding initiative, and now the rest of the country is following us in that. Other states are adopting what we did, and I think we could do the same thing on election reform, and it's needed. And so I think you're right. I think we could do that.
All right. Hang with us. We're going to take a few phone calls. We've got Senator Brandon Beach on the line. If you want to talk to him, ask him a question. Republican, Cherokee County in Georgia. That's the Fulton County north suburbs. He also represents part of Fulton County as well, North Fulton County. Let's go to Nancy in Atlanta on line 1. Nancy, you're live with Senator Beach.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Senator Beach. Thanks for fighting for us. We really appreciate you. 2 questions that I'll ask, and then I'll hang up and listen to your responses. Number 1, what are you guys going to do to keep foundations like Zuckerberg, who dropped millions, $400 million around the states, I think, $12 million in Fulton County? So how are you going to address that? And then number 2, what are you guys going to do to get to are you still going to investigate the fraud that happened in November and may have allegedly happened in January, because we still don't know because the courts are stalling us? I know there's one case coming up Friday, but I really think you guys have got to fight and see what's going on, because even if you change the laws, I think they're going to find ways to cheat if we let them get away with it.
All right, Nancy, thank you.
On the first one, I would tell you the way you get rid of the Zuckerberg money is not going to those agreements that our Secretary of State agreed to. For example, the drop boxes. He said, look, we're not going to pay for those drop boxes in his agreement with Stacey Abrams, but he said, if you get grant money, I will allow you to put those out. Well, she went out and got money and put out 140 drop boxes in 2 counties, DeKalb and Fulton. That's the kind of stuff that you tighten it up to where we're running the elections, not Stacey Abrams or any independent groups like Zuckerberg's group. I don't even know the name of his nonprofit. But my point is, you don't allow that. You don't allow these other outside groups to do that. The Secretary of State is our elections officer, and he needs to run our elections, and the state needs to run the elections, and the counties need to run the elections. We don't need outside groups getting grants to fund drop boxes, for example. So that's one thing. You cut that out and don't go into any kind of litigation and agreements or settlement agreements on those type of things, number one. On your second question was, I believe, what was
Are you going to follow up on
the
irregularities?
Irregularities. Bob Shealy and Favorito, I think his name is.
Garland Favorito.
Garland Favorito. They have a lawsuit that the judge from, I believe it was Noonan or Henry County.
County.
Then he did an injunction last week saying do not do anything with those ballots, which by law they can't do anything with them for 22 months. Mm-hmm. Federal law says that. So hopefully Friday they will get a ruling where they can take those ballots and have Mr. Pulitzer run them through the machine and find out. Look, it's not going to change anything from going forward, but it will find out if those ballots weren't folded if they were
But,
counterfeit. So, but
Right.
I do think I think we need to get to the bottom of it, and I do think for those reasons, I applaud Mr. Cheeley for still looking into this to find out, hey, were these ballots real or not? I mean, if there was nothing wrong, as Gabriel Sterling said on that State Farm Arena video, then go ahead and let us see the ballots and let us have them, and let a professional forensic person look at them, run them through the machine, and see if the paper was the real paper, if it was photocopy type paper, if the ink was on the ballot was photocopy ink or real ink, and if they were folded. And if they weren't folded, they weren't an absentee ballot. You don't get an absentee ballot that's not folded in the mail.
So if they weren't folded and they were on different paper, how did they arrive there?
That we'd have to find out, and I would ask if we find out these were not real ballots, then I think the governor should ask the GBI to go in and investigate and meet with those four ladies and the gentleman that was in the State Farm Arena doing that from 10:30 to 1, and find out who instructed them where those ballots came from and who instructed them to vote when no observers were there, Republican, Democrat, or media observers.
Now,
and I think you'll get to the bottom of it.
Now, Senator, who is Bob Cheeley again?
Bob Cheeley's a local attorney here that just has taken it upon himself to do what's right and try to find out and get to the bottom of it. You got to understand, this is not just this one event. A lot of us have lived, like for myself, I've lived in Fulton County for 26 years, John, and we've seen this time and time again, the incompetence and the way they handle elections. And I think Mr. Cheeley's a lifelong resident. I mean, he grew up and he's seen what's happened in Fulton County, and I think he's just, had enough. Enough's enough. Let's get this right. My deal is whatever we do, we need to do whatever Florida did. 20 years ago, Dade and Broward County were the Fulton and DeKalbs of Florida. And we're now the Dade and Broward counties, DeKalb and Fulton is. We got to fix these counties. There is, and one of my goals is, as Florida did, when Florida on election night, I want you to think about this. They have twice the population. We have twice the elderly folks. They had twice the absentee ballots, and they were on two different time zones. They had their results in by 9 p.m. on election night. We were still messing with this election for 3 weeks, finding ballots, 4,000 ballots in Floyd County. It was an embarrassment. My goal is that we should have our election results by the 11 o'clock news on election night. And we should know who the winner is and declare the winner and be done with it. And we should have the organization, the technology, the skill set, the workers trained, and have those results ready.
Well, look, you guys got your work cut out for you, Senator Beach. No doubt. I want to thank Bob Cheeley for what he's done, Garland Favorito. I think everybody's going to be beside themselves if this judge in Henry County doesn't rule for an inspection. I don't know why he wouldn't. Also, you got to ask yourself, why is Fulton County fighting this? You would think you would think they'd be like, hey, you know what? Do it now. Like, do it today so we can put this behind us. And right. I got to be honest, Senator. I want an investigation, and I want this to be clear. Like, I want there to be an explanation, honestly, as an American. Yeah. I want it to be done, and I want Favorito to say, okay, here's where the ballots came from. Here's why they weren't folded. There's an explanation. They are not counterfeit ballots. I hope that's the outcome.
Oh, I do too. I really, and it's not, whatever happens isn't going to change the outcome. Now
exactly.
That the electors have been certified, and I'm going to pray every night that Joe Biden's successful now that he's going to become our president.
Of course.
And so, because I want what's good for this country. That being said, we've got to look to the past to kind of fix it for the future.
That's right.
And if there was problems, then let's go ahead and just be honest. We had some problems, and let's fix that.
Yeah, that's right.
And let's make sure we have security around voting procedures. And if we, but I will tell you, we've got to fix this absentee ballot issue. People in other states getting absentee ballots is just crazy, and I don't know how that happened.
The number of people that voted and somebody voted for them. I mean, all of this was caused by the fact that the zone was flooded with absentee ballots. They were just mailed out, and there were live ballots all over the place, and you can't have that. And if we do the forensic analysis after the hearing's over, and they find that there were counterfeit ballots introduced, then you're right. I mean, you've got to go to the GBI. You got to go to the FBI, because that all hell's going to break loose if that happens. Because then you got to ask yourself, where else is it? Is it in DeKalb? Right? I mean, not good. Not good. So we need to get to the bottom of it.
Like a friend of mine, there's a lot of people talking about, well, I may run for this or I may run for that. But like one of my friends, I won't name the name, said, look, I'm not running for anything statewide until we fix this.
Right.
I'm not gonna subject myself to this and know that I don't know where these absentee ballots are going or where they're coming from or where they're, whether they're legit or counterfeit. And so I'm not running statewide until we fix election reform.
I mean, a lot of people have said, hey, Doug Collins should run for U.S. Senate in Georgia in 2022 because Raphael Warnock's term is only a 2-year term because he sat in for Isaac. He got elected for finishing Isaacson's term. But, I mean, if I was Collins, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be like, why would I go through all this until we fix it and I can be sure that the time and money I'm going to spend and, getting all my volunteers and everything else is legit, right?
Yeah. If it's a fair fight, I'll fight it. But, I'll go and campaign and so on. But I'm not going to, have that kind of, obstacles to fight before you even, go to the ballot box.
Listen, Senator Beach, #Beach Balls. I hope you don't mind your nickname, but that's what we gave you, and you're stuck with it. But I got to tell you this. I've been super impressed by yourself, Senator Ligon from Brunswick, Senator Dalazzo from Cumming, and Senator Burt Jones, and many, many others. Senator Steve Gooch. I mean, you guys are fighters, but you've been there. You've been there fighting this thing from the beginning. You're a truth seeker, and you're not afraid to stand up truth to power. I mean, it would be a lot easier for you as transportation chairman to go along to get along and, keep the donor money coming and all that stuff. But you were on the forefront of fighting this, and you're the type of like I keep saying, our movement has eclipsed its current leaders. We need new leaders. I think, Senator Beach, you're one of them, and thank you for what you've done.
Well, thank you. Have a good day. Thanks a lot, John.
All right, Beach Balls.